If you've logged on to places like Twitter or even watched other comic book YouTube channels in the past year, you'd know that the potential for AI in comics has been a big talking point. And unfortunately, there is an air of inevitability in that discussion. Sure, comics creators like Chip Zdarsky may poke fun at AI, saying, AI makes it possible for my mother to turn her cat into a handsome Renaissance gentleman and then spam me all day with a message, well, I guess I'm an artist too. And you're against that? Which, you know, I love Chip Zdarsky, he's great. But that is not the common sentiment that is shared by the rest of creators. Obviously it's a joke, obviously he's poking fun. There are some that don't take AI very seriously, or at least didn't 2 years ago. However, there are also creators like Erik Larsen who had a lot more to say about AI in comics. Here's the thing about AI art. People are angry at the very idea, and understandably so. It has the potential to adversely affect the livelihood of a lot of creative people. Can't afford to hire Alex Ross? Well, how about a faux Alex Ross that will do whatever you tell it to? And if faux Alex Ross is out there making comics, what becomes of the real Alex Ross? Does this harm his career? Does he become watered down by imitators? Is the real Alex replaced by a fake one every time he turns down a job? I can see a lawsuit down the road, and it's going to get ugly. Now, Erik Larsen goes on to say that if, when he was younger, there were tons and tons of comics being pushed out with the style of Jack Kirby, if he saw Jack Kirby's art style on everything back then, because, of course, he couldn't do everything. He was one man. It wasn't possible. But with AI, maybe it is possible in some future. Maybe a kid grows up looking at AI art and realizing that it's super impressive because it's emulating the art of somebody far more talented than whoever actually made that AI follow a prompt to say follow Jack Kirby or Alex Ross, people who put a lot of time and effort into perfecting this art style that the AI can now just take in and use. And by the way, that is theft. A lot of creators do point that out. AI art is directly stealing the art of other talented people and putting it into an algorithm and allowing someone to take that algorithm and utilize it however they wish. They're not creating art with it. They're generating an influenced, watered-down style of some of the greatest creatives working today that spent years and years and years to actually try and perfect their craft. Now, there are some other creatives I'd like to hear from before we move on that also had many things to say about this whole AI issue that is facing comics in a real big way. Creator Mark Brooks says, I can sit here and bitch about AI art while knowing there's really nothing I can do about it, or I can see it for what it is and work harder to produce better art that a computer just can't replicate. I may die trying, but I choose option number 2. Now that is a very honorable, optimistic outlook to have on life, Mark Brooks. I don't think a lot of people will share that. In terms of creatives, so many people find that they are terrified of the future for AI because it's advancing at such a absolutely impressive but terrifying rate. It's unstoppable at this point. Creator Andrew Wheeler says, AI art isn't magic. All the elements are taken from real artists who are not compensated. AI art is theft. Now, many creators go super far in the other direction. They actively despise AI art, and if someone tries to turn in pages of a comic and say that this is their work, and they find out that it's actually created using AI, they are going to effectively blacklist that person from the industry. And for other people working in the industry, like Taylor Esposito, the letterer, for example, he says, if you come to me with AI art and ask me to letter it, I'm charging you 10 times my rates. Clearly you have money to spend if you use AI art to not pay an artist. So there's largely no respect at all for AI art from the actual creative side. Some people are ambivalent to it. They know that it is the way that the world is going, for better, for worse, probably for worse. But they will accept it and they will work around it and they will do whatever they can to maintain their integrity in the face of all of this. Now, according to an article from True North Country Comics, Canadian comic creators actually believe that AI has some value as a tool, but it's basically slop without human guidance. And when a big shot celebrity like Colin Kaepernick comes in and says, "Hey, fellow comics fans, buy into my company, Lumi, it'll be great. It's all AI generated. You get to have a real start into this industry. I know you want to. Come on." No, that's not gonna fly. People want to throw that back into his face. As you can imagine, the reception to ideas like Colin Kaepernick's, not great at all. AI has been fed the work of very famous and talented creators in the comic community, like I said. So to suggest that, oh, this big star wants you to join, make comics using this technology, and you phrase that as an opportunity to level the playing field and be creative, at the end of the day, all I'm thinking is that you're really just stealing the work of others. Right? You're playing with full access to a toy box. Yes, a very colorful, very attractive toy box. But all that's inside are stolen toys. If you have, so little integrity that you just see that and you're like, you're running with it. Yes, this is my work now. These stolen toys. I'm not going to return them. I'm not going to report a violation. You're just, no, I'm going to use them. I'm going to pretend that they're mine. You're not creating anything. You're not. That's my personal opinion into this. But I do want to start a discussion here. I want to bring to light, I think, the biggest issue that is facing comics, if not right now, in a few years. But for now, the pushback is thankfully enough so that people like Kaepernick back off and the community can join together and ensure that incorporation of AI-generated art into comics is absolutely not profitable at all. People just have too strong of a hatred towards AI content because of the absence of life of basically everything that we love about comics. We want to read comics created by an artist, an actual human being that they like to follow, who it makes them feel good to support and see them grow and develop their work, whose works makes them feel something unique, because you don't get to the top just by being like everyone else. They want to feel individuality, right? In the same way that if I want to go and say, hey, Robert Downey Jr., real funny guy, I want to see him act in a movie, he's a really good actor, I would be paying for the ticket to the movie that Robert Downey Jr. is in based on seeing, in large part, his name on the movie poster. That's movies. The actors are the superstars. However, in comics, it's the artists and it's the writers who are the superstars of the comics community. And without them, you lose that buy-in incentive. Not only that, you lose the feel of individuality and basic connection that made us all fall in love with the medium in the first place. At the end of the day, it's simple. It's words and pictures. It's a window into the essence of what makes stories great. You try and take that away, it's just not good business. Because you'll have so many fans going against you in vitriol and hate and make whatever profit you thought you would be making by eliminating these creatives not profitable. People are going to actively rebel if the social media presence of our community on Twitter or even just YouTube, where I got a lot of this information, that presence is incredibly strong, and I think it's growing right now. It's not accepting AI. As more information comes out about the shoddy practices and everything you actually lose from employing AI in terms of artwork, and what you lose in storytelling and dynamism, I don't think people are interested at all. Now, although an article explains that comics could be completed at an exponentially reduced speed with the full usage of AI, this is from an attorney analysis from Mitch Hadley and James Rowley, and they state that a feat that used to require 5 creators for the industry standard back in like the 60s was reduced to about 3 people, 4 people maybe, in more modern times. And now with the advent of AI, one person could create an entire comic just using an algorithm. You're replacing creators with an algorithm. It can be called progress, of course. Like, With the advent of digital art, we skimmed down a lot of hard work that was being used just because the technology was there to make it better. That's not a bad thing necessarily, but this particular development, you really lose something important, something fundamental to the industry that people will come and buy comics for. The artist, knowing that it's their complete original work. Take that away, don't know what's what. Are people going to be as interested in comics, or are they going to lose faith? You have an enormous gamble, and right now, it is not worth it to major publishers especially. But this is all to say that we do have an official mainstream comics policy towards AI, and that is the one that has been put out somewhat recently, I think this year actually, by DC Comics. If you want to turn in AI art or interiors, and you get found out, you will be replaced. And you might be blacklisted from the industry. You very possibly will be blacklisted from the industry. Unfortunately, this was not enough to stop some creators from incorporating AI into their work. But the community on Twitter is quick to expose and accuse any artwork that looks as though it resembles something like Midjourney that's generative AI. They will accuse that person of, hey, what's going on with the hands here with the fucking ribcage on the Joker here? And those allegations, due to the nature of how social media is and how it's fueled by hatred and vitriol, it will ramp up. The right people will know about it, and there will be a response. Now, recently, an artist who I am personally a huge fan of, a great horror artist, Andreas Santino, was accused of using AI. The pages that were using AI occurred in a few issues of Batman. Big book. I'm sure you've heard of it. The artist rendered Joker with a lot of the common mistakes that AI just tends to make. Now, Santino has a very recognizable style. If I want to get out one of my books on the shelf right here, here's a Santino book. Bone Orchard Mythos Tenements. Very photorealistic, very paranoia-inducing. A lot of suspense goes into the artwork. Santino already uses a ton of photorealism in his artwork. Now, this borders on complete and gritty realism in the stories. I mean, this is not realism, but you get the idea, right? You get the idea. These people, they're not stylized. They look like people you could see around the corner on the street somewhere. But lately, there have been a lot of noticeable panels across all their artwork, not just Batman, but even in this very book, that make it look as though Santino has said, photorealism, not enough. I'm just going to go straight to AI, because there are definitely a lot of examples, unfortunately, of Santino. Yep, right here, for example. This scene, that's not what just pure painting looks like. This is an AI-generated double-page spread. And there's not a lot we can really do about that. At the top of this page right here, there's another such image. That is AI, and you can tell because it is rendered in a different sort of style than the rest of the book. You can see a really good comparison between the genuine art style here and the AI generated panel at the top of the page right here. And it's a bit saddening because it seems as though Andreas Santino is getting a bit lazy. And now here's another page that looks like something that could be AI generated. Now again, I don't know that it is. It just, to me, and from my research that I've done into AI, this looks a lot like something that AI would create. Now, this is going back on the shelf, but we're not done talking about Santino, unfortunately. Because Santino, of course, they've denied it. They've posted, images of them with unfinished drafts of the work, as if that's supposed to just clear everything up. No, you could have black and white AI-generated images as a backup plan in case you get called out. That's not ridiculous. We just don't know a lot of things right now. It's a very confusing time, especially in comics for AI. But evidence overwhelmingly, unfortunately, points to the fact that Santino did, in fact, use AI. Now, if you take a look at the panels I'm going to display on screen here in a moment, you can see the Joker with a rapidly changing body, overall just unrealistic anatomy, nipples in different areas of the body, odd painting decisions that Santino has never made before, by the way. This is all new. It's kinda hard to ignore. And it's such an issue because AI actively goes against everything that people love so much about comics, and it doesn't look that great either. There's a panel right here of Batman kissing what is meant to be Catwoman, who looks like Felicia Hardy, the Black Cat from Marvel Comics. That's probably because there's a 99.8% match that this image right here was AI generated and had not one, not two, but 3 telltale signs of AI generation. Kinda hard to ignore that, unfortunately, no matter how much I may like Santino's artwork. To go along with this, in case that wasn't enough the past year, in rapid succession, several of DC's variant covers were also accused of being AI generated. There's a Power Girl cover that had elements of the character and her body, such as her hair, go in and out of consistency, which another sign of AI, if you didn't know. A Wonder Woman cover by that same artist, released around the same time, also has inconsistent details. Whenever there's lines on the character design here, they're inconsistent. The belt, the armbands, the shield, no conclusive answer, as I said. I wasn't there, but DC did pull and re-solicit the covers, so the outcry on social media was enough for that. But it's beginning to be impossible to tell the difference between, surface level images that don't really tell a lot of story or, skill as a professional. We're getting into a really difficult and scary era for comics. But we do have a buffer. As I said earlier, AI is not going to be widespread due to DC's policy against them and the opinions of the majority of creators. It's just far too liberal of space for, any sort of AI introduction to be imposed upon creators, or for creators to even be allowed to cheat like this, It's cheating on your homework. It is. I mean, in an ethical sense, AI in comics, in terms of artwork and in terms of writing, even though there's less of that, it's cheating. It's just cheating. And the fact that users on social media are so willing to latch on to a piece of artwork and accuse it of being AI, and that those accusations will spread like wildfire once they've began, make it a really hostile environment for any working artist that says, hey, you know what, maybe I want to try. No. Get out. You're gone. AI is evolving at a rapid pace. We know that. For that reason, I think that the indoctrination of our community into AI probably is inevitable. Creators have referred to AI-generated art as the Autotune of the art world. I think that's a good summation, but it's more scary than that, isn't it? Because as AI art grows more advanced, I imagine we'll get to the point where artists may choose to record their entire sketching session just to make sure that they're free from any sort of allegations at all. I think maybe we'll have to do that for a lot of other areas in life as well, like schoolwork. A lot of professors are already employing techniques such as this. So it's just a difficult time all around. But there is one thing about comics that is so special that AI will never be able to fully replace the work that is being done. Now, we all love comics in different ways, but for me, the fact that in comics, it's just words and pictures. There's no music. There's no guiding you through the story. You have 2 storytellers who do that for you. You have the writer and you have the artist. You have a dynamism to it. They can slow you down or speed you up by the way the panels bleed into the next, how they're structured on the page. What I really love is that you can spend as much time as you possibly want on any individual panel. If there's a really emotional scene in a comic or a story, you can spend all day on that. You can say, okay, wow, here's Peter Parker, and he's realized that his uncle's going to help him live his life even 15 years after he's died. It's his philosophy on life, and it makes him laugh because he learned to laugh in the face of all of this bad shit happening to him. You have a scene like that where he's just laughing on the ground by Uncle Ben's grave, and you can spend, due to the nature of comics, as much time as you want in that moment. You don't have to leave that moment. It can be as impactful or as long as you want. And in fiction, you have those moments that feel so very special. as a reader, as a watcher, you know? And for me, those are the moments that I seek out in media. They're why I love stories. If you take that away and replace something like that, that to me has so much emotion and so much intention in how the story is told, just replace it with AI art that, yeah, you can tweak to make sure that it lines up with whatever vision you have. But I think largely a lot of emotion is going to be lost because you can't improve as a storyteller or as an artist if you don't try to improve. And AI art, it's stagnant. By nature, it does not move. Now, let me give you guys an example real fast. Daniel Warren Johnson's excellent comic, Extremity. Now, Daniel Warren Johnson is someone who I think understands dynamism in comics very well. I think it'd be difficult for an AI to match this level of guidance. It's packed with so much energy and fun and life. AI has no new ideas. If they want something crazy like this to happen, a bunch of metal drummers playing something, well, the world explodes around them, and there's action everywhere, there's crazy monsters coming out of the ground, they just have to deal with that. I don't think that would be very possible for AI, to be honest. And yeah, just overall, I don't think AI can come close to developing a double spread like this, for an example. I just don't see that in the way the technology is right now. And now what I have right here in these boxes is what you've probably been wondering about for the whole video. Well, see, on my channel, if you're new, what I do each month is I open up the comics that I ordered that month. So today I have just, 2 boxes here of the comics I ordered like any other month. But what I'm going to do differently this time is, instead of reviewing them, as I usually do, I am going to show you what makes comics special. And if I do think that, AI can replace some of these stories, because they're all, stories I've experienced before that I'm kind of remembering. Now, the first book we have up is a little graphic novel called Kill Your Darlings, like the literary trope, right? And why this will be interesting for the topic of AI and comics is because this is the first work of both writers and artists. These aren't people who have mastered skills like dynamism or guiding a reader across the page. It probably is going to be more surface level, which is absolutely and utterly fine. Look at that cover art right here. We have some praise for the book on the back. And as you go into it, we have this fantasy story with, perfectly decent art. However, is this something that an AI would be unable to replicate? Even though it does have some energy to the artwork and things like this. Is that energy that AI would not be able to replicate? Now, this is an artist that is early on into their career, but I could imagine that an AI could, not right now, but in a few years, tell a story like this. The difference is that this is the work of 2 creators who are trying their best. Great story, by the way. It's a really fun fantasy story that blends it with the trauma of a young girl losing her mother, and her growing up and realizing that the reason that this tragic fate occurred was this other world that she dreamed up when she was a kid, and it was real the whole time. And she has to go back to it to find out how to settle things once and for all. Really good story. We have a lot of visual storytelling here. They do a proficient job of it, but I don't know if it's something that AI could not replicate. The difference is that with AI, creators can't grow. They can't change. With a book like this, absolutely the writers and artists can go on to master visual storytelling. Maybe they could become a pioneer in the medium. They put the work in. If they go on to have an illustrious career where they send the medium in different ways, it's possible. That's part of the fun. Watching these new creators sprout up, do amazing work, and then just keep getting better as they learn how to really use the medium in the ways that it was born to benefit from. A lot of really cool artwork here, but it's cool on a surface level, right? It's cool on a surface level. There's not a lot of long-lasting depth to the art here, even though I can read this book anytime and I can have a really good time. I am worried that if AI art in comics becomes more prevalent, the art will look like this at best. At best, it won't have any of the depth, it won't have any innovation, it won't have anything going like, wow, that was really different, because the pool that they are pulling from is inherently limited by the talented creators that came before. And that's never how it was. You would look at the energy of stuff like this and say, okay, this is wonderful. This is like cinema. This is life made art. How can we make it more so? How can we make sure the art is a showcase of imagination and creativity and dynamism, and we get the whole package to the readers, and we give them something they've never seen before? In AI art, you're always going to be getting something you've seen before. Change is new, and it's exciting, and sometimes it's scary, like with the AI art. But it's also wonderful in terms of building and reaching great new things. The issue of AI isn't terrifying because it's new. It's terrifying because it will end that which is new. I don't know any one of us that doesn't want the medium to go into a new great direction. We just need to protect our stars, our superstars, and we need to encourage that. We encourage AI, and all that creativity is gone. All we have is people who are good at working machines. Maybe that sounds a bit harsh, but it's the truth to me, you know? A title that I've been looking forward to for a while, called Book of Evil. This isn't even comics in the traditional sense, but it's written by one of the famous creators in comics, Scott Snyder, who did a lot of really great Batman stories and a lot of great horror stuff. And this bends more into horror than anything else, but it's not actually a comic. It's a prose piece, and here is some of the pictures that are used. I think if you want to tell this story with AI art, I don't know that you're actually losing that much. You're losing something, because it's a deeply human horror story, but the prose is the focus. The pictures are only additive. They're hints at what's really going on in this world. So if AI were to take over this book and it really helped out the creators, I do think that AI art could do some good here, reducing some of the work that Jock has to do here in illustrating the book. But yeah, for a quick review of this book, it is like 1984 in that in the future everyone is born into being a psychopath. That's more normal than being sane. The main characters in this book are born sane, and they have to escape this world of lunacy and, you know, find a better place for them and their families. But yeah, they go on an adventure and they're trying to find a place where they can be, you know, normal again, where they can live good lives and be happy. So yeah, maybe AR could actually surface this book. If Jock wasn't available and Scott Snyder wanted to, you know, still have those images that hinted about what was going on in the world but aren't necessary for the actual book and the actual story, I'd advocate for AR in this one if the creators are okay with it. I don't see the problem with that. I think it could work rather well. I don't think I lose that much. And now going on to the final book, an absolutely beautiful presentation, by the way. Look at that spine, that gold right there. Written by Joshua Williamson with artwork from Andre Bresson. And it is a really wonderful story of coming of age, of the fantasy world merging with our own. And we're going to be looking at the artwork here, because I could gush about Birthright in future videos, and I'm sure I will once more of these deluxe editions actually come out. Absolutely gorgeous book, but it's a great epic story. Like, sure, maybe AI, you could tell it to do something like this, but will you have the perspective? Will you have the feeling of tension, of terror, of alarm in AI? Maybe if you can code that into the prompt. Most likely something's going to be wrong when you have action scenes like this. You can feel the panic in these moments. You can feel the gravity in everyone's movement. You can feel the triumph, you know? It feels like it has life to it. And I've seen a lot of AI work that does fantasy, but stuff like this, like with the shading and everything like that, I would much prefer, personally, to read a story that has artwork like this versus something that's AI. It just feels way more immersive. It makes me a lot more interested in the story. It sucks me in. It gives me the vibe that the story is going after, and it does it all wonderfully. And I'm glad that, again, we're finally getting it in this format, because the artwork is amazing. And even the covers here. I think if AI is going to be used for one thing, it probably will be covers. Because it's one striking image that draws you in. If there's one thing that AI is good at, it is drawing you in. But even then, these covers, I don't think AI will be able to do anything close to these for a while. Maybe something like this AI could do. And it would have mostly the same impact if you see this on a comic book store, right? Maybe. But you still have a certain emotion here. With this angel character, for example. She's not necessarily graceful or happy. She's just like noticing something on the ground, which characterizes her as very human. And you can see the intention in the way even each of the kids that are seeing her look. Everything is there for a purpose. And it becomes increasingly difficult to convince me that AI would be able to do the same thing. Beautiful artwork that really represents the series well. But at the end of the day, comics are so magical because of their simplicity. Their words and pictures, they're a simple way to tell a story. We've been doing it since, we were cavemen. Words and pictures, that's all we need to explain our thoughts, our feelings, and pass them down to other people who we want to revel in the same experience with. That's all it is. So, in the future, I know that AI is going to get better. I know there are going to be more attempts at AI comics. I can't stop you. If you want to, you can make an AI comic. I'm not encouraging that. You could try your hand on it. No one's going to like it for now. Not until the technology is there to actually be impressive. And even then, I still think most of the community is going to be like, what? No, I'm not buying that. I'm not spending my money on something that just looks like something I like. I want the real deal. I want to pay for the real deal. And until I get that in my store, I'm not giving you money. In the future, it's going to be increasingly hard to tell. If we're thinking about the next generation, would I, as a kid, be able to tell the difference between AI and real artwork if it was emulative of another artist? I wouldn't know that artist. I wouldn't even know all about AI. So, at the end of the day, I think that those who are against it will stay against it, but the future might be that AI is just heading towards a more simplistic view of art, and that we might lose a lot of nuance in that transition. I don't want the future to be AI-generated comics. I do think they will have to be incorporated in some way, hopefully without losing what makes it so special. And I think if you're entirely against any sort of AI in your comics at all, I get it. Listen, I get it. But with the way things are going, it's just going to be how things are. The creators that are talented, that you love, are still going to be there. It's just going to be a different era. It's like how artists switch to digital coloring, except you're losing a whole lot more than original colors, and it's just going to be a new generation of purists. I'll probably be a purist, since I grew up this way. But I do think AI in comics is probably going to happen at some point. When people quiet down it, when AI is inevitable in other parts of the world, it will be in this too. This discourse community is not going to be safe from any of that. We're not going to be safe from any of that. And I think it'd be foolish if we assume that we would be, right? I think it'd be foolish to assume that. I also think it'd be foolish to completely dismiss the potential of something that you can view as soulless and lacking any sort of artistic integrity, but that is going to be our future in all likelihood. I don't want AI to disappear, right? I just want entertainment to feel important and meaningful. I want it to have intention. Thanks for watching this video, and I'm sure that people will have some opinions if anyone watches this video. But if not, that's perfectly fine. So, yeah. Have a good night, and I will see you next month.